Okay, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to day 2 of the Cannabis Cup in Denver. Thank you. You're all here. You all made it. Fantastic. Good job, everyone. Thank you. Thank you for abiding for the long lines. We're scanning everybody in, but in light of what happened yesterday, you can see why everybody's got to have their bags checked. So we're talking about what if you're not aware of what happened in Denver in the City Hall Park. Somebody needs to do a few more dabs. That's what I say. Anyway, I know you guys are all alert and everything like that, so I got a stoner question for you. I got a little bit of math here. A stoner can make 1 joint out of every 6 roaches he has. That stoner has 36 roaches. How many joints can he make? 6. Wrong. Come on, folks. Think. Kids, I was going to give away the joint. It's 7. Once he smokes 6 joints, he's got 6 roaches left. Come on, get with it. God damn it. Jeez, I thought you guys were sharp. I hope CNN or anybody isn't here, because very, very, very disturbing. We'll give this to the panel. Anyway, I suppose you all know about social media. You've heard about that. You've heard about the worldwide interweb. I've heard that you can even get, it on your cell phone. I don't know how to work this yet, but I hear you can actually get the interweb on it. So social media is huge. It's what's driven our movement forward, and we have a terrific panel here today about the social media. And to moderate that panel is one of my good friends. She's the managing editor of High Times. She is also the hostess of the podcast, Jen's Music Stash. Everybody, the managing editor of High Times magazine, Jen Bernstein.
Good morning, good afternoon. Welcome to the first Cannabis Cup in the United States. Yeah. You guys did it. You made it. You're all here. Thank you so much for coming. Really excited. We have a great panel today. I am Jen Bernstein. I am the managing editor for High Times. And usually when we go to these things, we ask you to turn off your phone. Not today, people. Okay? We need everybody to turn on their phones and log on to Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. And that's really where we all live. Google. So please, turn on your phones. Even this morning on CBS Sunday Morning, they were saying about how social media plays such an important part in our lives. Pretty much, where were you at 420? Where were you for the first Denver Cup? We were all here. We can tweet about it. It's the place we want to be. So, what we're doing today is we want you to join the conversation with us. And what we're going to do is we're going to have each of the panelists introduce themselves, and then we're going to invite you guys the floor to talk to everybody here. And what we want you to do is use hashtag HTSocial, and that's how we're going to follow along with the conversation. If you want to get me, Jen Bernstein, at High Times, it's JB Music Stash. And otherwise, let's get started. First up, we have Radical Russ Belville.
I had to tweet out the hashtag.
Okay,
Caught me by surprise. Hi, my name is Russ Belville, and I am the executive director and chief bottle washer and all of that for 420radio.org. It's a 24-hour cannabis community radio. It's like public radio for pot. We're member supported. We do pledge drives, just like PBS or your local NPR station, except our music is much better and the conversation's about marijuana. So I encourage you to check that out. I had the idea for doing this when I was working for Normal. I used to work for Normal from 2008 to 2012 doing their podcast. And the technology, when I started podcasting, if you wanted to do something live, you had to haul boxes and boxes of stuff in flight cases, and it was prohibitively expensive. Now, if you visit my booth out there with 420 Radio, the entire mobile studio to stream live fits in a carry-on that you can get on an airplane. And that's why part of this social media panel is so exciting, is that, you know the old saying, big brother is watching you? Well, now, little brother is watching everything. And the videos that we get, I mean, you just saw what happened in Boston this week as far as trying to track down those bombers. People had cell phone cameras, and people had cell phone videos. We're uploading and checking Twitter and Facebook and all of that. So that's why I'm here, part of 420radio.org, and I'm sure we'll have more to talk about later.
Thank you, Russ. Next, we have Bianca Barnhill, living the high life.
Hello, everybody. How are you doing today? You enjoying your first U.S. Cannabis Cup? Yeah. Well, I am an activist and a contributor to High Times Magazine. I sit on the board for ASA, Americans for Safe Access. I originally didn't intentionally start my blog, Living the High Life, for external people other than my family and friends, and it's led to getting a fan base, and I'm really proud of it. Just being able to normalize what the cannabis consumer and a medical patient looks like, acts like, and spreading the word and the message for the movement really gains me a lot of pride, and I'm happy to be here today.
Thank you, Bianca. Next, we have Lenny from Hail Mary Jane. Lenny.
All right, I'm not as good as these guys. I actually wrote something up because if not, I would just sit up here and ramble. So I'm going to go into that. Hello, my name is Lenny Gator. I'm originally from Montclair, New Jersey, hometown of the first medical marijuana dispensary in the state. I did not grow up as a stoner. When I was in high school, I was one of the leaders of an anti-drug program similar to Dan. I didn't start smoking until I was 22, and I appreciate that I got the chance to see the other side of the marijuana argument so closely at a young age, because it allowed me to see the other side of this battle very clearly. I originally started Hail Mary Jane in 2006. The tagline is, it was supposed to be a sports blog, and then I got high, and that is actually true. The site was originally sportfiends.com, and it was sports focused. The name and theme was changed a year later. I wanted to cover urban culture, sports, fashion, as well as music and events. Marijuana was originally not planned to be a focus, but the timing was perfect. At that time, blogs were starting to really become popular, but there were few marijuana culture blogs. Marijuana law reform and acceptance was also higher than it had ever been. Every time I would write a story related to marijuana culture, people were super receptive, so that slowly became the focus. HMJ has steadily grown and opened up many opportunities for me. HMJ now has around 10 team members, and we were invited to cover events in Los Angeles, the Bay Area, Denver, Philadelphia, Washington, D.C., Boston, Atlanta, New York, New Jersey, and Amsterdam in 2012. This year, we already have events booked through September. I have also worked with various clients as a social media consultant, including Complex Magazine, Village Voice, and Westward, to name a few. Social media was always an integral part of HMJ's marketing strategies. With a very low budget to begin with, I started out promoting HMJ on social news websites like Dig.com, Reddit, and StumbleUpon.com, which would drive traffic immediately. Eventually, we moved to working with Facebook and Twitter. These days, we're also using Pinterest, YouTube, and Instagram a lot more as well. Each network requires different strategy to build a loyal following, but it is always worth it. I've used social media to drive more than 13 million visitors to HMJ in 5 years and send tons of traffic and new product sales and millions in ad revenue to my clients that I've worked with in this time. The power of social media is undeniable, but just like anything else, there are downsides. The time it takes to execute properly, the lower level of privacy, and learning how to deal with controversy and criticism in a public setting have all been bumps in the road that I've had to learn how to deal with at one point or another. Despite this, my team has persevered, and through social, we've developed tons of new relationships with businesses, fans, and followers, and fellow activists as well, that you can't get by buying followers or assigning interns to do the social media work for you. There's not one business running today that cannot benefit from having a stronger online presence. And I hope that everyone here utilizes the time with these social media superstars that I'm on the panel with. I feel honored to be a part of such an intelligent, cutting edge, and courageous group of individuals on this panel. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Lenny. I love when people come prepared, right?
Right, New Jersey.
No, we are all prepared here. A lot of people think that stoners are not productive individuals, but we really are.
Yeah.
Up next, we have Paul Token.
Well, first off, thank you everybody for coming to Denver. I myself am a Denver native. I moved around a little bit in my life, but I came back when I had the chance, and I love it here. I love seeing everybody come out in full force to support the city, to support what we're doing here, to support the movement as a whole for the world. Because right now the world is watching us. That's something that I've learned with doing my show. I'm not sure exactly what to speak about. Everybody else is probably a lot more prepared than I am. That's why I come in this kind of preparation and I do as much pre-gaming as possible. Because I don't know, I'm not a social person at all. I'm at home when I am at home behind my own video camera. But now I'm in front of, I'm not even going to try to count them, but it's awesome seeing everybody out there doing their own thing, broadcasting perhaps to their own little audience. And that's great. It's awesome to hear the stories of people when they come up to me and when they talk to me about how I've inspired them to do anything, inspired them to follow their own personal dreams. Because it's all it's ever been about for me, is about showing the world what my own personal world is. And that's just a guy getting stoned, having a good time, enjoying this herb, enjoying what it does, in allowing me to engage with people. So thank you. Thank you all for coming out today. Thank you all. If there's any Token Daily peoples out there that are in the audience, I don't know. I'm going to go ahead and stop right there. Thanks again.
Thank you, Paul. Skipping ahead to Coral Reefer.
I am halfway prepared, I'd say. Everyone so far. One of my favorite things about social media is that I can bring forward what I've experienced and what I've learned, and I can hear back from people all over the world their own experiences, their own truth, and it's actually brought forward a lot of misinformation. What I do is I run a question and answer show every Sunday. We call it Stony Sunday. I take questions that are cannabis related, but also culture related, and just what it's like to be a patient, to be a cannabis user, sometimes just to be a woman in this community. And I just try and, like Bianca was saying, normalize the face of the patient, normalize what it is to smoke weed every single day, to still go to work, to enjoy what I do, and not want to hide it. Not want to have a stash box that I put away, have to spray perfume in my room, hide bongs if something breaks in my apartment before the apartment manager comes over. I'm sick of that. So I just try and talk about it as much as I can. With social media, I really loved hearing from the viewers the new things to be on. My favorite new thing is Vine. I don't know if anyone's on Vine here, but there's Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, Pinterest, Lenny mentioned. There's just so many, and it really is, there's a place for everyone. No matter how you feel comfortable, if you communicate visually and you want to post pictures, Instagram's a fantastic way to meet so many people. And with videos, with what Paul does, posting a video every single day, that's a whole nother world right there. I can do it, you know? So there's something that we each can bring to the table, and I think social media really allows everyone to find what they're comfortable with. So you can find the question and answer show I do at StonySunday.com. I love all of the Stony Sunday shirts in the crowds right now. Thank you guys. Thank you, Reaper, so much. I love you guys. And also CoralReaper420.com is my blog, which I wanted to touch on what Bianca said about starting her thing just to be for friends and family. My cannabis thing was almost an opposite of that. I had my Facebook for friends and family, and they would tell me that they couldn't have me on their list if I was posting about cannabis because their boss might see it, their friend might see it, and it made them uncomfortable. So I started, just another one. I was like, Mom, don't add this one. I'm going to just have my friends add this one. And there was such an amazing interest in it. And it's that surprise that everyone wants to talk about pot, and we're happy to do it, So it's a blessing to be up here. I feel honored to be among these amazing people and in this amazing crowd, so thank you guys.
Thank you, Coral. That's awesome. I just want to quickly talk about why I'm here. Obviously, I'm the man janitor for High Times Magazine, so every 3 weeks, High Times, we're putting out a new publication. It's awesome, and there's so much attention and detail that goes into putting out a printed piece of publication. We work for weeks, months, we have planning meetings, but on a day-to-day basis, I love to take photos. I always have my camera out. I love people, and I just want to talk to everyone all the time. So that's why I'm social. And I started at High Times about 1.5 years ago. And within, I want to say, like the last 6 months to a year, I started my own podcast called Jen's Music Stash, which deals with mostly bands that I like to go see and reviews and festivals, and that's a great way to get out and meet people. And there's such a large crossover between music and weed. I mean, they go hand in hand. So I really welcome you guys to listen to Jen's podcast, Jen's Music Stash, and also check out Free Weed with Danny Dako, which is another great High Times podcast, High Times Radio. You can also find me on Instagram, I like a lot, NYC Jam Gal, and also on Facebook, Jen's Music Stash. One of our photographers shot this great cola, and it looks like a mustache. So that was kind of awesome. So today we're going to take questions from the audience. You can use hashtag HTSocial. You can direct it to one of the panelists, and we'll try and answer your questions. So you guys can start doing that now, and we'll switch over to the Twitter feed and start checking that. So I guess I'll just leave that there for now. I wanted to open up the floor to any of the panelists who wanted to. I think one of the main questions we all have is how to use cannabis in an activism type of way. Maybe Bianca, you want to talk about this and what you do, and how to gain followers, and how to help get the message out, and how you feel about it.
Well, again, like I said, for me, when I started it, it was for friends and family, and I got such a great response. And like Cora Reefer said, everyone wants to talk about pot, and normalizing the cannabis consumer on social media. I think that this movement has really grown to what it is today because of social media. We're finding out so many more things about the science of it, and the people who were potentially leery of it in the past are now looking into it because we're spreading the message. So basically for me, and I'm sure a lot of the panelists, it's really about spreading this message. I did mention normalizing the cannabis consumer, which really helps. You know, a lot of my friends at first, when I started telling them I was a medical patient, it was like, oh, yeah, right on. You know, I got the real, goofy response from them. And at this point, I'll post pictures of myself as an activist on Capitol Hill with signs and whatnot, and people are starting to take this movement a lot more seriously. So for me, those are the types of things that I post, and even in my friends and family circle, I've turned a lot of people on to the information, and they've looked into it, and it's literally saved a lot of people's lives. So the social media really, gets just the movement out there, as well as, ourselves as consumers.
Right, and I would like to also add, like, how do you build a brand? I mean, essentially, you become an expert in the field, but do you see yourself as a brand, and how do you build yourself, your image, whether it is by photos or by, should you tweet every day, and how much is too much? I mean, I'm sure everybody, you have 4 or 5 different accounts. Like, how do you stick with the one? So let's just talk a little bit about branding, and whoever wants to take this question is fine.
I'm going to speak on this a little bit. I have a lot of accounts, if you guys follow me. I have found success with having different accounts because not everyone wants to know what you ate for breakfast, and not everyone really cares how your day was at work. A lot of people do. But what I do have is I have a stream just for my show, for Stony Sunday, and that's where I have updates about how the recording is going, how uploading is going, if there's a problem, where they can find more information. And I have the fans add that. But if they want to get to know me more, I do have more of a personal account. And then for building a brand, I find consistency. I find a lot of people start posting, and a couple months in, they're like, I don't know, no one's watching, no one's paying attention, I'm over it. But you have to do it for the pleasure of it, because that's what's going to keep you doing it every single day, or every single week, or whatever your routine is. And after a year, people pay attention. After 2 years, people pay attention. So building a brand, I don't think, is something you can ever do overnight. You can start brainstorming a lot of ideas with a good smoke session overnight. But it's going to be consistency and just doing what you want to do every single day, regardless of whether people are paying attention. That really gets their attention eventually.
So consistency is key.
I just want to jump in on that too. Definitely, that was exactly what I was going to say. Consistency is key. Really learning about the different social networks and how to use each social network, because all of them are different. So building the following on each social network is not going to be the same, and it's really important that you actually use them. It's really important that you actually interact with readers. Like, I've seen all of these people on here using social media for a long time, and especially when it comes to branding, like, they've all been doing it for years, and I've seen all of them for a long time. So it takes a long time to really be consistent. People need to know that when they come to your feed, or they come to your site, or they come to whatever, that they're gonna get this good information. And like she said, even if nobody is watching, it has to come from you. It has to be something that you're passionate about, or else it won't last. So, you know, whether it's marijuana or whether it's whatever, if you're using social media to try to get it out there, really be consistent, really use it, really interact with people, and then really, like, just make sure that this is something that you love, because there's going to be lots of bumps in the road, and really that passion is the only thing that's going to be able to push you through most of the time.
One last thing, just as important, with the finish point with Lenny, is before, like, when you're trying to build your brand and you're posting the content and no one's watching, no one's looking, they're going to go see that later. When you have new eyes on you, they go and look at your backlog. And so I think it's really important to do what you want to do professionally from day one. Like, you have the 1,000 eyes already. Really, you know, because they're going to go back and check it out. And so, I just want to touch on that. For us, I really want to hear you.
Yeah, I was going to expand on what Coral said a bit about the multiple accounts, because I think now I have maybe 7 Twitter accounts at this point. And when you have that many, you got to have software to deal with it all. I use one called TweetDeck, or Hootsuite's another one, I think, is the Apple one.
Thank you.
But, yeah, so I got these different accounts, and the reason why is, like, when you're building a brand, you want to be, like you said, consistent and honest, I think, is another thing. With mine, I've got Radical Russ on Twitter, which is just my id. Anything that comes to mind, I'm going to blurt it out, whether it's about TVs or politics or whatever. Then there's RB Show 420. Well, that's just going to be stuff about the Russ Belville Show, where I'm going, what events are happening, you know, get the news kind of thing. Then there's 420radio.org. Well, that's for the network and what's going on the network. But I think of all the accounts I have, the latest ones I'm most fond of. Do you guys know who Kevin Sabet is? Kevin Sabet is like the #1 drug warrior right now, because he's proposing this kinder, gentler drug war. Let's not throw him in prison. Let's force him into rehab and P-test him. Right? That's his gig. So this is the perfect lesson about how we are winning as the cannabis community against these idea blogs. They cannot compete with us because, #1, we have truth, facts, science, and logic on our side. But #2, we're all communicating and connected now. And we don't have to hide in the smoky closet. Even if you are in Tulsa, Oklahoma, or Maples Fort, or wherever you're at, you can get online and hang out with Paul Token and do dabs, or you can get on the net and read what's going on in Hail Mary Jane. So we all are now communicating, and they can't beat that. Here's how they try. Kevin Sabet, when Massachusetts was trying to pass medical marijuana in 2012, they had it was question 3. It was on the ballot, and it was polling in the 60%, right? Everybody's thinking it's going to pass, it's a slam dunk. So Kevin Sabet formed a PAC called Vote No on Question 3. Vote No on Question 3. And he did a press release, had a big, press conference. We're forming this PAC, Vote No on Question 3. What he didn't do is get the web domain votenoonquestion3.org.com and .net. Mike Can out of Boston went and bought that. Next day, he had a website up that was all parody. It was all like, if we pass medical marijuana, there will be a shortage of Twinkies. Or the Mayans predicted the world would end in 2012 because of marijuana. And the Red Sox are in last place because of pot. All these just ridiculous things. So, as the election happened in November, we passed here in Colorado, passed in Washington. The prohibitionists went nuts, oh my God. They've started this new group called Project Sam. And it's Patrick Kennedy, and it's Kevin Sabet, David Frum. They're on all the talk shows now, MSNBC, Fox, all these things, saying, we need to force people into rehab. So, they called their group Project Sam. Unfortunately, ProjectSam.com already existed for some technical thing. So what did they pick for their website? They picked Learn About Sam, and SAM stands for Smart Approaches to Marijuana. So a group called Smart Approaches to Marijuana got the website Learn About Sam, and I thought, he wouldn't be so dumb as to forget to get the web domain for smartapproaches.com.org and .net, would he? Well, prohibitionists don't learn from history, or else we wouldn't be here. So he did not get those domains. I snapped them up, and I made a website called, it's up there now, smartapproaches.com, Project Samuel, Smart Approaches to Marijuana Use, Except Legalization. And it is a page-by-page mock-up of every single page they put up. I twist it and give you the facts as to why they're wrong. And the minute they put something new up, I duplicate it on that site. I've got more hits on my site, more followers on that site than they have on ours. He also didn't get smart approaches on Twitter or Facebook either. This is how we're winning, because we're smarter, we're more creative, and we're better looking.
I want to say, I'm sorry to cut off the applause, but I want to say I fucking love Russ, and especially the better looking parts, definitely. I vouch for that. But I just wanted to add one more point to what Coral said before, because I think it's really important that you think about this. Like, HMJ didn't really start getting attention until I started treating it like it was already a big website. Like, I started treating it and running it that way. That's when it started to really do that. But a lot of people will wait and be like, oh, you know, once some people are reading, then I'll start doing it or whatever. No, you have to be like that from day one. You have to run it like how you expect it to be if there's a million people following it from day one.
And let me add to what you do with Hail Mary Jane that I've watched that is really great. You do advertising with your stickers, and you go to local events where other people are like paid dues and the things in Los Angeles, and integrate your brand with celebrities that are performing, and you do a lot of, and that really helps your brand. They're all marijuana related, obviously, but you know, local community events and being able to brand yourself. I mean, you just with stickers. That's how I found about it. There were stickers everywhere at this Smoke Out Festival in California.
And I agree. I think we should. What are some of the first steps that people can take, whether it is getting, making sure that you have the correct URL and domain name? Is it trademark and copyright?
Well, this industry is
What
booming,
are the first
so you have
steps
to...
that people need to take? I mean, I think it's part of the brand. It's part of, you know, maybe it's just finding a name. Maybe it's your name.
If I can start with that, I'd say to start with something original, because there's way too many parody names out there already. So just go with whatever you feel works for you. Start doing what you feel passionate about, which we've already been talked about, and make an effort to go above and beyond in your choice of media. If you're filming it, if you're taking pictures of it, take the time to take a good picture or a good video that you're happy to watch, that if you, as a random viewer, would come across this video, you'd be like, damn, that's a good video, I like this. Take the time out of your day to produce something like that. Don't just film something or take a picture of it or talk about it if you're just doing like a radio or a speech. Research your topic and then take the time to get the proper angle on that subject, and then apply it to whatever media source that you are projecting on.
And hopefully these sources will be marijuana or cannabis. And I know it's probably a little bit strange, like, or you may feel uncomfortable at first posting about marijuana or cannabis or taking a dab or explaining to people what you're doing. Does anybody have a good story
just
about?
Actually, on the branding before you go, one thing, the only tip I would do is once you have the name that you like I started doing Newsnet, where I just kind of retweet or bring up stories that have come across the news, either from Radical Arrest or from Huffington Post. I found a lot of stories as well that are just coming across in cannabis culture, laws that are passing, people that have been arrested. And when I decided on Newsnug, I went and I did the Ustream about the Newsnug thing. I went and did newsnug.com, and then also Twitter and Instagram. And by doing it all in one day, I'm not going to run into the problem that these prohibitionists have later, where 3 months down the road, I'm like, oh, maybe I should sign up for that account. Someone snapped it up, and maybe they're posting pictures I wouldn't approve of with that name. So I would say just be really thorough. Go think about what's popular. I've heard a lot of what social media to be on from the social media I'm already on. You know, Facebook told me to get on Twitter. Twitter told me about Instagram. It all kind of fell in place.
Yeah, that's a good, you know, I've just barely, you know, I'm an old guy. I just barely got onto Pinterest. And if you don't know what Pinterest is, it's like if you're surfing the web and you see a picture, you can say, oh, that's cool, and it'll grab that picture and put it in like a bulletin board for you, so you can collect a bunch of pictures. For me, it's invaluable because whenever a news story comes up with a poll or a chart or a graph, I'm Mr. Data Guy. I'm all about that stuff. So I have a board called Radical Arrest Data, I think, up on Pinterest. Like when that Pew poll came out, bam, I got 18 different crosstabs on the Pew legalization poll. When there's the graph of DEA budget cuts or budgets, yeah, like they're going to cut budget increases, that graph is up there. So yeah, pay attention to what the new social media are that are coming out, and you don't have to be on all of them, but find the one that works great for you. Pinterest is awesome for me because I'm that visual data graphs guy. Instagram, not so much because I like to collect my photos and put them up later. I don't need the instantaneous nature of that, but there's something for everyone.
Right. Since we are starting to get a few questions coming in, I want to make sure that we start to get to them. So we have a tweet here from Greenslide Fox at 7/4/20, and she wants to know, PA is pushing forward to medicinal approval with legalization quickly following. Do you think this will trend through the rest of the U.S.? So she wants to know, so Pennsylvania is pushing forward to medicinal approval with legalization quickly following. Will this be a trend?
It should be. I mean, I think medical marijuana could be the end of the drug war. You know, 68% of the drug war comes from marijuana, so.
And maybe that's what it takes. I mean, I live in New York. We don't even have decrim. We just kind of ended stop and frisk. But you know, we have neighboring states that are, you know.
I mean, myself
like
as an
Pennsylvania
activist,
moving
I
faster
always,
than we
the
are.
first thing that I always ask people is, you smoke on a daily basis, you believe it should be legalized, how many people have you seen in your local or state officials, or, you know, on a federal level, how many people have you gone in to meet with to push this? So that's why social media is so great, because coalitions can be built to create, you know, initiatives in different states. That's just me.
And I'd say the most important thing to do if you are from somewhere that's not in a state that has any sort of legalization is to talk to people. Not just people in Congress, but people that you live next to, your neighbors. Get out there and say hello, introduce yourself, and just see what their opinions on everything are. And talk with them, have a friendly conversation, and if they are not educated in the realities of marijuana, then just politely inform them. Let them know that it's not the demonized substance that the United States has made it out to be since the late 30s.
Just a follow-up to that question, if you want to take this, Lenny. I have to say, it's from Weedy McPoopershit at Wild Wizard NYC.
Talk about coming up with something original, huh? There's a brand.
Weedy wants to know, from your social media perspective, which will be the next state to become legalized?
Okay. Oh, well, Alaska's looking us up for 2014. Oregon's looking for 2014. California's pretty much agreed to 2016. Massachusetts, Maine, Vermont are all up to bat for 2016. Which one would go next? My dark horse is Maine, but I'm from Oregon, so Oregon, baby. Yeah, of course.
Take it Oregon too.
Hey, I did want to make a mention on that, to follow up what Paul was saying about talking to people no matter where you live, because I know I got a lot of fans from like Texas, Florida, a lot of places where you don't talk about it, right? You don't talk about it, right? So one of the things on that, as to how powerful this is to spread your actual physical real world networks of people you talk to about this, was a poll that came out in 2007. Minnesota was trying to pass medical marijuana, and somebody commissioned this poll in Minnesota, and they asked two questions on it. The first one was, do you support medical marijuana? And about 3 out of 4 people said, yeah, I support medical marijuana. Then they asked, does your neighbor support medical marijuana? And 3 out of 4 people said no. So propaganda on the drug war has gotten us so frightened of talking to each other that we believe over half of our neighbors don't agree with us when they do.
And here we all were so surprised too when we got such a response that people wanted to hear about pot, because I think we all believed it too.
Yeah, and
yet
that's
no
why
one cared.
we've got the Facebook, we got the Google. They can't stop it anymore, because now, it used to be if you wanted to find somebody, that's what, I mean, the whole reason we're here at 420 was because we couldn't say to each other, hi there, hey, would you like to go meet and smoke some pot? Right? We couldn't say that. We'd have to say, hey man, it's almost 420. We did, right? We had to be sly about it because we're outlaws. Are you 420 friendly? And well, now that's not even a code anymore. Everybody knows what it is. But that's the thing, is now that we have Facebook and these internet connections where we can kind of be pseudo-anonymous and the rest of the world doesn't have to know that we're talking about it, we can now really talk about it online, through Twitter, through Facebook, through emails and all that. And that's why we're winning. That's why these polls for legalization are up over 52% now. That's why medical marijuana is over 81%. Because no matter how much the government wants to blab and
spend $1 billion on anti-drug advertising. When you talk to someone who's real and you know them, you go, wow, this lady smokes pot, she's got her shit together, oh my God, you know? Well, that guy smokes pot, he's a lawyer, oh my God. And the reality overwhelms all the propaganda.
Absolutely.
I maybe want to touch on the, is it going to trend medical to legal? A lot of people wanted to sell the idea of medical marijuana that it's not going to bring legalization, it's not going to bring recreational use, it's something totally different. And I think that was an honest sale at the time. I think that we really, in California, I mean, I didn't create the laws, I was not around at the time, but we created it for patients. But the byproduct is that we started seeing what patients looked like, and we started understanding that patients aren't just in hospitals, patients just aren't on hospice, patients are people on this panel. You know, they're people that identify as wanting to smoke weed every day to enrich their lives, to have a therapeutic benefit, and that they find helps aid them in what they need to do. And so it kind of brought legalization forward because people just changed their perspective of what a patient was. And it wasn't something that we really intended with medical, but we're getting there with legalization, I think.
And on that trend on medical, I do have to make one point, and that is the trend on the West Coast versus the trend on the East Coast. Since New Jersey, the trend in medical marijuana in the past 4 jurisdictions that have passed it has been no home grow. In New Jersey, it's 3 strains allowed, less than 10% THC. Wow. One place to get it in a state of 9 million people. DC, similar, no home grow. Delaware, no home grow. New York's bill, or Illinois' bill that they just passed the Senate, no home grow, and a qualifying list of conditions that's this long when you're reading it on screen. There's no chronic pain, severe nausea. There's chronic severe pain, just specifically labeled out with etiology and diagnosis and all this crap, because they have to keep trying to find a way to keep the potheads out from all the patients. Well, smoking pot's bad, we gotta find a way. And medical marijuana gets narrower and narrower and narrower and narrower till the only people who can qualify for it are, cancer patients with 3 weeks left to live. They can only smoke it on Tuesdays at 4 in the morning in their basement chained to a radiator. I mean, it's ridiculous. So, yes, we have to fight for medical, and yes, that's a trend, and that's what starts to open people's mind, but never lose sight of the goal that you have to present full legalization to people, because as long as it's immoral to be a healthy person smoking pot, they're always going to pass restrictions that keep some of the sick people from being able to qualify. My ex-wife runs a clinic up in Oregon where they had to turn down hospice patients because he didn't have the required paperwork. Guy's in hospice, he's gonna die, let him smoke. Sorry.
Thanks, Russ. No, and that's actually one of, yes, it definitely deserves a clap there. And that's how I found you, Russ, is I remember a presentation being brought to High Times and the differences between having medicinal and so I want to get to another question. This is from Jesse Toker, and I'll let you take this, Lenny. I believe it's a he. He's wondering, how much do you think you've learned from being a part of the social community? And can you admit to any mistakes along the way?
You take that.
I've made a ton of mistakes along the way. I'd say that, when I first got into social and stuff, there weren't a whole lot of people, like there wasn't Tumblr at that time, so there weren't a whole lot of people like taking pictures, smoking and all that kind of thing. So I think one of the biggest things I've learned about it is just like really like how many people, even if they don't like support like legalization or whatever, just how many people enjoy this plant, you know what I mean? And how diverse it is. Like just look at this room, like you see like a ton of different races just in this room, you know what I mean? And it's something that really, really brings people together. And I think just trying to build up my own brand has just taught me a lot about like life in general, a lot about relationships with people, a lot about how to cultivate those relationships, and it's really just helped me to grow tremendously. Now, as far as mistakes go, I mean, like tweeting the wrong thing is always a bad thing. Made mistakes as far as like content goes, and people have been very critical of me.
Can you give any specifics?
Yeah, I can actually. So, one of our marketing tactics is to create like stickers, and like send them out to people, and people send in like their self-addressed stamped envelope for that. We got the idea from another website that I'm a fan of. Man, I can't remember the name off the top of my head.
Stuff Stoners Like.
Stuff Stoners Like.
They're awesome.
Stuff Stoners Like, and they are awesome. And I had some people who were very critical of me because I used the copy from that website, and it wasn't like, when it comes to our content that we produce every day, like all of our content is original, but you know, with that page, that was a page where I took the copy from that site, I changed some things on it, and I put it on my site. They found it, and you know, they were not happy about that, you know, and I gave them credit for that. You know, I made my apologies publicly, and that was kind of one of those things that I talked about where, you know, I made mistakes publicly, and I was criticized publicly, and I sort of, you know, on the fly had to just figure out how to handle it. And you know, it can become challenging because, you know, in terms of this whole movement, you know, I think I see too often that, like, you know, we're sort of like against each other a lot, and I really think that we need to really use like social, really use these avenues that we have, and really use our audiences to try and solidify and, you know, come together, because we can't fight the other side if we're not on the same page. So, you know, I mean, I've made my mistakes and I've made my apologies, and, you know, sort of moving on. You know, you just have to kind of keep it moving forward and make sure that the content that you do put out all the time, even after you make mistakes, is still good. Because one of the good things about social is it doesn't really matter what you did yesterday. It's all about today. It's all about this moment. You know?
Thanks.
I gotta take responsibility. I was one of those critical people, and I was upset to see a blog that I also supported, you know, Stepstoners Like, to see something so similar on Hail Mary Jane. And I think that conversation that went down was beneficial for people to see. Like, we were able to just have it out in the open on Twitter. Anyone that followed 20 or Hello? Hello? Okay. Anyone that followed either one of us could see this discussion.
Maybe use rest.
And they were disappointed. Hello? Okay. They were disappointed to see us having such harsh words exchanged between each other. I personally got a lot of messages saying that they wish that we could just get along. And it was hard to see those messages because we're not always going to have the same ideas. We're not always going to do the same thing. And I learned a lot from that experience to be less critical, to let people make mistakes, because that's how we all learn. And I've made plenty of mistakes, and I've had plenty of discussions coming back at me if I don't like the way you did that, I think you should have done it differently. And I've been able to learn so much. So I was really thankful that it did occur on social media, and that we also were able to then chat privately very recently and kind of discuss how diversity is like bringing the community together, that the more different ideas we have, we're all fighting towards the same endpoint, so we don't have to do it the same way. And I think that's fantastic.
And we're all each unique individuals, so as long as you're true to yourself and you're honest with your intention. I mean, I'm a little out there, so I like to say that we are in the age of the Aquarius now, and I think that we all, the like-minded people, are coming out and connecting through social media and events like this. And as you push and promote yourself as, I mean, really, you are an activist if you're having the conversation, even online, about this movement. And so, you know, being consistent with who you are will allow people to get to know you better. And, you know, again, coalition building through social media is the end result that will help the movement and your brand in the end.
One of the things too, I think is important is, you know, you can use social media not only for, like, you know, businesses or whatever, but you can also use it for like any activism projects. Like, you know, Russ like does some great work with his social channels. One of the things that I really like, talked specifically about Pinterest, and a few weeks ago he put this chart up made that showed, I don't remember which state it was.
It was Milwaukee County, Wisconsin.
Yeah, Milwaukee County, Wisconsin. He showed like the disparities between like who was arrested by race, and you know, it was just crazy to see on one image right there, like, you know, like the different disparities and how bad it really is. So, you know, part of it is we can use these social channels. I'm just gonna try to yell. Okay. We can use these social channels, like, you know, in terms of like activism. We can use these social channels in terms of just normalizing marijuana smoking. And then if you have people in your family who, you know, need to see this kind of stuff, or people who you want to show, you know, this side of the story to, you can take things like that image and show them and say, this is what's really going on. It's not illegal because it's dangerous. It's illegal for other reasons.
one of the things, you were talking about being critical. That raises a good point. How do you guys deal with haters? Because it's so easy in a day and age to hide behind a screen name. And it hurts because, you don't know these people, they don't know you. You are trying to get your message out. How do you either defend yourself, or how do you deal with it, and how do you deal with haters?
I think that we're fighting for our medicine. We're fighting already for our medicine, and to fight with people online is just ridiculous. For me, I just don't pay them any mind. I think it's totally an unimportant way of, people, like you said, people are hiding behind a screen and making comments, and they can make comments all day long. That's not going to stop me from spreading the message.
How do you think that to motivate a discussion to...
Well, having discussions with people is one thing, but so the question that you asked was about haters. I don't deal with them. I let them hate, because there's a fine line between love and hate.
Yeah, I feel somewhat qualified to answer this because I've been an internet kind of person for a long time, since the early 90s. During that period in my life, I was living in North Dakota, in sometimes the middle of nowhere, North Dakota, where I had to take an hour and a half bus ride just to get to work, or not to work, to school rather. So starting with that kind of an internet base, I learned that on the internet, sometimes people, they really don't care what gets said, as long as they can say it. Sometimes all they're looking for is for you to get back at them in any kind of a way. Be it a good way, a bad way, they don't care. They're just they're bored. That's all it is. So if you have somebody that's really just trying to get under your skin, like was previously mentioned, flat out ignore them. Step one, recognize a troll for being a troll.
Welcome.
Step two, if you do decide to feed the trolls, be sensible about it. Don't start playing their game, because for the most part they have the mentality of a juvenile, and they don't care where the conversation gets drugged. If you get drugged through the mud with them, all the better for them, because that's you getting your name tossed down like that. So if you do engage, be polite about it. Kill them with kindness, and always stay true to yourself. Always stay true to fact, because they're looking for you to slip up in any single way possible. But if you stay true to yourself, then it's not possible to slip up. Then you're just kind of having fun with them a little bit, but you really can't let it go too far. Feed it a little bit, and then just watch them scurry, and then go about your day.
Here with that. I ignore people that are just straight being hurtful. Like, if there's just an insult, ignore it. There's no wasting time with that. But the people that try and leave a comment, the haters that say that they wish they did something different, or they had a better idea for this show, I really do enjoy engaging with these people, because they're on social media too. They're willing, they're viewers, they count as well, they're reapers in many ways. And I like hearing what they didn't like about it and letting them know those are fantastic ideas, and I look forward to seeing you do them on your channel. Take them, put them into action. I'm working really hard with the ideas that I have, and I try to do the best that I can, but I look forward to seeing other people's collaborations as well. So I always try and tell the haters, like, that's fantastic, I love that idea. Go do it. Do it. Don't wait for me. I don't have time to do this. I think you should do it better than I do. And like you were saying, if you do feed the trolls, which I am totally guilty of, I try and keep it on topic. If they want to change the conversation, this, that, the other thing, I really try and bring it back to what was the original point. Did you even have an answer for the original point, or are we still dancing in circles here, in which case I'm going to go. But I do kind of like seeing where they're coming from. And with the World Wide Web, there are miscommunications. There are some people that leave a comment that you think is rude, you think is something short, they're telling you to be different, and in some way they just don't speak English. This is their first time, on YouTube, on Twitter, or whatever. And it's just a miscommunication. So I've actually found a lot of new fans and new people to engage with by interacting with people that at first I thought were kind of rude,
Haters. Okay. Whenever I think of this, I think of things that my dad used to say. Number one was, never try to teach a pig to sing, and just waste your time and annoys the pig. Another one he used to say is, son, you like everybody? No. Why should everyone like you? So there are going to be haters out there, no matter what you do. People are going to hate, In my case, I actually have a hater who's incredibly popular, more popular on ratings and social media than I am, who's rude and obnoxious to his readers and just all sorts of terrible things. And I've been guilty of engaging that at times, and it's hard not to sometimes. You want to defend yourself, defend your honor. But always remember that the internet is written in pen, right? You put it out there, it's going to be out there forever. And there's some shit I've written that is, oh God, I wish I hadn't written that. And the internet's written in pen. And number two, criticize and attack opinions, not people. And you stick to those, and generally you'll be okay. Trust me, because I've broken both of them.
I'm just going to add one more thing. Opinions are like assholes. Everybody has one. And some people who have and some people who have negative opinions can also be your biggest fans. So the haters that hate you the most usually are the ones that are stalking you and spreading your name out there, and they are your biggest fans. So be clear on that.
I got it. Okay. All right. I just want to add one more thing to that as well. Yeah, haters gonna hate, like everybody said. But you know, like one of the things too is to try and not always look at it as a bad thing. Like kind of like adding on to what Cora was saying. You know, I've seen a lot with my community. Like we built a loyal following of people who really like what we do. So when somebody comes on there and they're critical, like our fans will come on there and defend us. And honestly, a lot of the time, that will spark like some really good debate, you know, and that'll spark, and it'll be public and everybody can see it. So like, it's not always a bad thing. Like sometimes like that'll spark debate, that'll get attention. And then another thing is, you know, like if they're not talking about you, then, you know, you're not doing something right. So like really, if people are hating on you, you're doing something right. You're moving in the right direction. Yeah, exactly.
You remember Howard Stern's movie Private Parts? There's a scene in it where they're going over the ratings and they're about ready to fire him because he's so obscene and obnoxious. And they say, well, we got the ratings here, and these people who love you, they listen for about 1.2 hours on average. And the people that hate you listen for 1.4. So yeah, if they're talking about you, it's good.
They're your biggest fan.
Well, I mean, that's one thing. Haters are one thing, but you can also build community, and they will be a part of your community. We've touched on the haters, but let's also talk about how you can bring in positive people and people who are to utilize other people to help promote your own social media.
Well, I think we're a community that does promote peace and love, and to engage, you know, on the negative end is just a negative. Again, we're already fighting for our medicine. We don't need to be fighting with people on social media. There's a lot of love out there. Supporting and promoting peace is a general consensus for most of us. And your intention has to be right. If you put out false information, or if you're lying to your fans, or if you're being dishonest, that leaves it open for a negative. But if what you're putting out there is positive, and you're trying to engage a community and share an experience with them and open up conversations with them, that's definitely a better, you know, leeway to, again, building coalitions.
And also, I mean, are there other practical tools that you can use that we can give some actionable advice? Like, should you follow back? Do you always follow back? How do you decide who you follow? How do you tell who to like, who not to like? With blogs, do you follow back? Do you promote other people so they promote you? Can you
on the
give some
transition
advice?
from like a hater to a fan, I have received comments, you know, that I'm only responding to negativity, that I'm only defending myself, or I'm only explaining things that people seem to misunderstand. And so I found it really important to respond to the compliments, to respond to the people that just say, hey, I like your show, or this was cool, or whatever's going on. Say thank you for watching, thanks for your time. I don't always engage in a follow back, so I want to be able to read what's going on the timeline, but simply by responding to everyone, making sure that you get the positive ones that maybe you just kind of skim through those at first because it's just like, rock on, it's awesome, it's not really a question or something, but it's important to respond to the positivity more so than the negativity, you know, at any level.
Yeah, replies. I follow back quite a few people on Twitter and such, because I got that tweet deck, I can filter stuff out. But I find replies, and especially I call them piggyback replies, where honestly, I'm really trying to get some audience based on someone else being a bigger Twitter person than me. I've had reply back conversations with Roseanne Barr, Dr. Drew, Kevin Sabet, and a few of these people where I know, I can check my my statistics and see, oh, after that got retweeted or replied to by Roseanne Barr, man, I picked up 110 people that are her fans that went, oh, this guy's got something to say. So yeah, reply back to people, especially if they have more followers than you.
I would like to quickly touch on the whole positivity aspect of things. When I was asked to do this speaking panel part, they asked me to submit anything to put up when I'm doing my introduction, and the only thing I really thought of to put up there was the picture of a sunrise, because that's overall an image I think that represents what I'm trying to put out to the world, is the positivity in the fact that every single day I'll be there with a good message of whatever. If it doesn't matter if I'm in a bad mood that day, when I wake up from the get-go, when I sit down in front of my camera and I hit record, bam, all of a sudden I'm in a good fucking mood. I check my mood at the door, at the camera, and I show off the good parts of my day, or the good parts of my thought process of that day, or maybe sometimes I'll just be like, you know what, I just cleaned my piece, it's looking damn beautiful today, I'm gonna set my camera up today, right up on the perk, and I'll get a slow motion shot as I'm taking that here. I'll set it up on the hash as I load it up on top of the bowl, quite healthily. And I'll get a shot of that melt that makes me, as I'm watching it with my own eyes, be like, oh, that's beautiful, that's something else that really makes me...
I feel better already just listening to you talk about it. This is great. Right?
But anyways, and then going on to the whole responding to people in a positive mood attitude as well. When I'm on my social media, whatever my outlets, the Facebooks or the Instagrams, when I notice people starting to like my photos or that are commenting to me, I'll look at their account. I'll look at their pictures. I'll read what they post. And sometimes I'll be like, damn, this person reflects a lot of my own ideas. I like this person, so I'll follow them. Now, sometimes I don't have time in my day to go through everything that I'd like to, but when I do have that time, I do that. So that's about all I got to say, I guess, on that.
Just a couple of points. You know, I think the positivity point is very important, because I feel like, in general, positive energy draws more positivity to your life. Negative energy does the same thing. And so, you know, despite the fact that we're all disconnected by like computers and stuff like that, you generally get a pretty good idea of people and where their heads are at by following them on social networks and finding out where they're at. So if somebody is generally negative, you're not really gonna want to be around them. Like that's the bottom line. When I'm in a good mood, you know, I draw a lot more positivity to me. But when I'm negative, I try to just stay off social altogether, because really it's something that will come back on you, and a lot more people are watching than just that person, that hater you might be responding to, you know, and a lot of people will then look at that, and that'll determine like their attitude towards you.
You know, to touch on Jen's question, going to the follow back and all that, I'm really bad at that. My Instagram is my #1 favorite thing, and that's sort of what started my idea to do my blog, Living the High Life. I do the Instagramming for High Times, and I noticed how much people really enjoyed the pictures and the photographs. I don't really have a lot to say, so I don't really tweet, but they're connected now. So my Instagram goes through the Twitter and the whole experience. So, you know, whatever's right for you. It's whether you have something to say or you have a picture to show. There's all different ways to engage all different kinds of communities. So if you sort of track that, you can see who do people like what you're saying more? Do people like the pictures that you're saying more? You know, there's always different levels of things that people will like. So, you know, sort of looking into that to experience where you're getting your fan base is something good.
Just a quick request from Ken Grave. He says, let's just drop the word marijuana from our vocab. It used to scare the whites in the 30s. I mean, marijuana, it's a catch-all word. It's our description. I mean, it is.
I gotta talk about
so,
this one.
but what do we want to say? Weed, pot. I mean, there's so many different.
Well, marijuana
things,
is a
like,
slang, though.
how can
It's
I
actually
just-
not a word in the dictionary. If you Google it, the Wikipedia will take you back to cannabis. So I always try to use the word cannabis.
I have a thing on that. A lot of people will say, marijuana is a racist word. Well, no, it was used for racist purposes, but it's just a word. I think it's a useful word in that in distinguishing cannabis, the entire plant, versus marijuana, the thing I smoke. But from just a purely statistical point of view, marijuana will get you 10 times the Google hits cannabis will in a headline or a URL. And if you're writing a headline or a tweet and you're stuck for space, marijuana's 9 letters, cannabis is 8, pot is 3. What I tend to do is I'll put marijuana or pot in the headline to bring them in. And then once they're in the story, I'll use cannabis to talk about the scientific nature of the plant or the laws regarding it. And then the only other thing is that when we talk about reforming laws, the laws in the books are marijuana laws, either with a J or an H, but they're an act to ban marijuana. So when you're talking about ending marijuana prohibition, well, it's because the law actually says marijuana in it. So I'm not as touchy about the marijuana cannabis thing, but I'll use marijuana to draw them in and then use cannabis to educate them.
This was something I actually learned about from social media. Like, I always knew, racist origins of prohibition. I think a lot of us knew that growing up and smoking a lot of weed. But when I would talk about pot and I would use the word marijuana in some of my YouTube videos, I would get comments saying, that's a racist word, I don't think you should use it, it's not helping the cause, and you should read about it more. And I'd respond to those comments and be like, it's just a word, I'm gonna use it, I have no racist intentions when I'm using it. But over the course of time, by just reading more and understanding more of the history of it, I felt less comfortable using the word marijuana, and cannabis became so much more comfortable for me, and pot is just fun, and weed's one of my favorites. But it's one of those things that social media really, because it got the conversation started, and it showed me that the connotation of words is important to people. It really matters.
I like muggles, jive, tea, devil's lettuce,
The ganja.
hippie salad.
Okay, guys, so we're going to start wrapping it up. We have maybe another 5 to 8 more minutes, and we'll get maybe another question in. Thank you guys all for coming to the panel today. Anything you want to tweet at us, use HT Social. Definitely follow High Times Magazine on Twitter and Facebook, and all these experts as well. Safety Driver wants to know, what's the best way to get your viewers or readers to share the information that you're posting?
When I started in talk radio, I had a producer who I'd be starting off on a rant and black going on, and then he would just look at me through the glass. He'd be on the other side of the glass. I can't hear him or anything. And he'd just go. Now, who gives a shit, right? Make it. It might be interesting to you. Is it interesting to them? Give the people what they want, right? Know what your people want. Paul knows what his people want. Gives it to them every day. Stony Sundays, the consistency, people know for me you're going to get data and long-winded rants. People know for Hail Mary Jane you're going to get punchy, quick stuff. Know what they want and give them something they'll want to pass on. Just content, I guess.
Yeah, knowing your readers, knowing your following, knowing who you're targeting is very important. And then also just making sure that you're always putting out quality original content. If your content's not original, as we've seen, you will get called out on it. So make sure that you're putting out quality original content consistently, and make sure that you're actually interacting with people. Like if you mention somebody who's like a celeb in a tweet, reply them in the tweet and link it to them. They'll retweet that and put it out to all their followers. Like really put you have to put the work in as far as the content goes, but then as far as the marketing side goes, you have to put just as much work in on the social media marketing side as well.
And I'd like to say about that, if you're trying to make something that you want everybody to see, don't go out of your way to make it desperately look like that. Don't set out to make a viral video. Just set out to make something that you're absolutely enthusiastic in making. Because if you make a product that you were just damn balls out proud to make, then there's going to be people out there watching this being like, that's an awesome video. Hey, watch this. And they'll do some clicks and start sharing it on their pages. So that's about all I really have to add to everything that I'd already said.
All right, I think we can squeeze one more question in. This is because we got it 3 times. But Melly wants to know, how does it feel using cannabis under Amendment 64 in Colorado as opposed to other medical states?
Oh, I gotta say something. On the way here, I was driving in. We got pulled over by cops. We let them know how much weed we had on us. The cop took the weed, looked at it. He was like, oh, we have trafficking issues. We let him know we didn't have any more. He took it, wrote us up a warning and gave us back our weed. I can't believe it. I can't make this shit up.
Great. That's how it feels. Damn good.
That's amazing. The other night we threw an event with Snoop Lion, and a family member came up to meet him, and he said, "I smoked my first joint in 1965, and today is the first time I've ever done it legally, and I get to do it with you." So for me, that was like a big moment for this weekend. It's amazing to be able to use cannabis legally this weekend. Thank you, Denver.
Yeah, I gotta say, I kind of already live it like it's legal. I'm in the People's Republic of Portland, and it's pretty much easy going. I go to these events wherever I fly to, there's friends and there's weed. So for me, it's just almost like another cup or another expo or another event. But what was telling to me about this, what I'll never forget, is the people coming up to the booth from out of state. The Texans, the Oklahomans, the Kansans, the Floridians, the Georgians, all these people, and I've always thought that when you're fighting for legalization, one of the hardest parts about it is it's a concept, it's abstract, right? Those people coming here from out of state that have actually seen, felt, touched, smelled, and smoked freedom, there's no turning back for them now, and they're going to go infect everybody they go talk to. Oh man, there's thousands of people just smoking weed. And nothing bad happened. It was awesome. That's what I loved about this cup.
And here in Denver, it's been a long, hard road fighting for the legalization. I mean, there's videos of myself on the state capitol steps smoking a literal pipe about 2.5 feet long, as long as my arm, a bowl that can fit an ounce and a half, just taking a huge rip as the traffic drives by, honking their support. And it was doing that constantly that got the publicity out there, that normalized it to the citizens of Colorado, so that when it came around to vote for it, people were like, yeah, this is fine. I know a guy that smokes pot. He's not a murderer. He's not a crazy guy. He smokes pot.
Like everyone said, it feels damn good. It feels so good to be in a legal state. California has had medical marijuana since 1996, and we do have medical marijuana available for, I would say, almost any patient that talks to their doctor about why marijuana helps them can have it in California. But to have it legal feels different. It's just, okay, one thing that happened to me in my hotel room is the smoke alarms went off twice. Cooking or smoking, it doesn't matter. But the smoke alarms went off twice, and the hotel called, the front desk called me, and when I answered, I was so scared. What are they gonna say? All they said was, open the windows, not the door. Okay, I'm fine. Okay, I'm not on fire. Open the windows, not the door. So they don't mind. It's just a different vibe. It really has changed.
Colorado is a very special place, and we're so thankful for everybody's work and efforts for the movement, for our freedom, for our rights. And please use social media as a tool, as a way to help move the movement, and it feels good to be a part of it. And thank you guys all for coming. Thank you to our experts for joining us.
If you're wearing this Sony Sunday shirt, please stick around. I have to get a picture of all of you guys.
Yeah, please
This
stick
is
around
awesome.
and join us by the High Times booth. We'll be taking photos and tweeting them. Thank you guys. Thanks for coming.
Let's hear it for them, everybody. Thank you so much. Social media moving this entire movement forward. That's the truth. I mean, the internet has done it for us. So at 3 o'clock, scared me there. That's how quickly things get stolen. Are coming up at 3 to dab or not to dab? That's the question. Coming up at 3 o'clock. So take a break. We'll be right back with you.